Good evening. This is the work session for Northfield City Council, July 13th of 2021. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231 in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. Due to social distancing requirements related to COVID-19, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. For this reason, this meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting live streamed using Zoom conferencing service and in accordance with the governor's executive orders and the Open Public Meetings Act. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the public meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as on instructions on how members of the public can submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the City of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written comments submitted in advance would be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting. And for today's meeting, there were none. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
Thank you. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to open up our meeting this evening by stating the following. We are gathered to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us and act always in accordance to what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. Thank you. Please be seated.
May I have a roll call, please?
Roll call. Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mrs. Madden?
Here.
Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Rutz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
And Mr. Chow.
Here.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Mary. I'd like to start off the meeting we have a presentation by Mrs. Ginny Ericetti on behalf of the Elliott Howard Crevens Foundation. We would just like to thank them for their generous donation. The foundation has donated to Birch Grove Park, and Mrs. Ericetti is here with the first check. And I think it's really great that I think it's wonderful that they were able to do that for the park, and how Mr. Crevens really loved the park and how all of us do as well. Councilman Deweese has a certificate for you.
Thank you. The state of Elliott Howard Cravens, the existence of the Elliott Howard Cravens Foundation, which was established in 2012 and funded upon his passing. The foundation provided financial support for Mr. Craven's estate to various groups and organizations, including Birch Grove Park. Thank you. What we're going to do is we're going to place a plaque under a tree of your choice at Birch Grove Park. If you can work with Mary Canisi's office, and we'll set that up. The brick will read, with sincerest appreciation to the Elliott Howard Cravens Foundation, presented by Mayor Council of the City of Northfield, this day, 13th of July, 2021. Would you like to say?
Yeah, if I could say a few words, I would appreciate it. My last name is pronounced Ericetti.
I'm sorry, Ericetti.
His last name is pronounced Crevens, too.
I'm
I
sorry.
grew up in Northfield. My maiden name was Virtue, if that rings a bell with anyone. Jackson Avenue, right around the corner from what used to be Cook's Delicatessen. Now it's Mike's Deli. Into Mount
What is your
Vernon.
first name? Excuse me.
I'm sorry,
What was your first name?
Ginny.
Oh, that's what I thought it was. Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
I know.
Man, do I feel old.
How you doing?
Okay.
Went to Mount Vernon Mill Road and graduated from mainland in 77. And in the summer of 78, I started a job on Atlantic City Boardwalk in an ice cream stand, and that's when I met Elliot. He was my supervisor at Core Brothers at New York Avenue and the Boardwalk. And Elliot was a very unique individual. He was very loud, boisterous. He wore shorts no matter what the weather. He wasn't an educated man. As a matter of fact, he didn't graduate high school until he was 20 because he had very poor vision. But, and besides managing the ice cream stand, he was manager of a pool deck and a parking lot, I believe. But what money he made, he invested very well until he amassed about over $1 million. And very generous, and gave it to 13 charities, one of which, of course, is First Grove Park. So you beat me to the punch because I was going to ask you to consider, something to remember his legacy. He didn't have any children, but he was a good friend of mine. I don't work for the lawyer. I'm here just to make sure that Elliot didn't become just a line on the legend. And I really appreciate it. I always did love Birch Grove Park as well. He loved animals. He loved plants. And I miss him. He passed away a couple of years ago.
They're here to present the first check.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Councilman, anybody say anything?
Anyone else? As I said, we're very appreciative of it, and it is a wonderful park, and glad that he enjoyed it while he was with us. And he can he'll look down on that plaque, hopefully, and enjoy that.
I will be there. I'm sure Mr. Mayor will let me know when it happens. And as you said, the first check, because this is in perpetuity, I like that word. This will be for quite some time. We'll be getting this check depending on how well the money's invested. It should be at least about the same amount. Yes.
What did you have a specific vision for the park? What was the vision? Say like animals and nature and plants?
I think mostly plants. He loved plants. He had potted plants all in front of his house, all in his house. It took me, I was tasked with getting all the stuff out of his house. He left me the contents of his home, and there must have been well over 100 plants. In fact, I think I have a little letter in there, and I suggested that we.
Maybe even a wildflower garden or something.
Yeah, that'd be fine, whatever you feel would be best. I just wanted him to be remembered because, as I said, he didn't have any family, so this was his way of being remembered. We all want to be remembered. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will have her information.
Thank you.
Before we move on to committee reports, I just want to offer my condolences to our engineer, Rami Nasser, on the passing of your mother. So sorry. And thank you for being here tonight, but certainly I'm surprised to see you, but thank you. My condolences from the bottom of my heart. On to committee reports. Councilman Perry?
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess the first issue is the sewer backup. I copied everybody when I got from Joe Chamberlain today. To sum it up, there was another considerable backup, and let me tell you what I have here. It's a complicated synopsis, but it does indicate that they are going to upgrade the system and move on from there. The response was fairly quick. I did talk to Dave, and Dave said, fairly good amount of flow. And, I don't know, it's, something that, hopefully they can rectify and get resolved, soon. Hopefully in September, October. And there has been preventative, measures taken by changing, certain, breakers and things of that nature. This is where we're at with it, so everybody knows.
Frank, I just wanted to thank you for your responsiveness to the issue. And, Brian and I, both talked about that, and we thought it was very nice of you to come down and come down personally and go over to the station.
This is very, this is, well, not just a big inconvenience to anybody anywhere. And so just so happens we have two councilmen on the street that it happens to. It's not a pleasant thing.
No.
Hopefully we can get by this and move forward soon.
I did, in addition to the upgrades that you discussed, I mean, I toured the station, and they are actually doing quite a bit of upgrades to it. And it looks like there's a lot of new equipment in there. So, hopefully this doesn't happen anymore.
It's a high usage station as well.
Pardon me?
I said that station has quite a high usage.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Three towns exclusively Barstow with Echo Township. Part of Echo Township. Yeah, everything that comes through those towns goes down past the place and then goes house into the pumping station. It's a large pipe, and it comes from Shore Road. It's 30 feet above sea level, almost to sea level. And it's got some velocity behind it. Yeah, this is a major station, just like the other breaks that they had this year, last year. This is something that definitely got to be upgraded and get a lot more redundancy to it. And he's guaranteed me that they'll be on it until it gets right.
Thank you.
The ACUA on August 10th has their annual meeting, semi-annual meeting, and at the same time as ours. So we have to follow up after the fact with what's going on, and a couple other issues with the city coming offline, and a couple other issues that were on there. The other issue was I had some complaints about the fireworks in different areas, and there were some comments out there that we couldn't enforce it, but the large sky rocket ones that are really like the cannon ones that go up, they are illegal. So, basically they were told that they couldn't enforce it, but that's not the case. Fireworks, those types of fireworks are illegal, and he encouraged everybody to call me to call 911 at that time, and definitely make a complaint to the police department. Well, not 911, but the non-emergency number, so that it can be taken care of. I just like to recognize everybody who participated in the 4th of July event. It was a very nice event. I thought it was well attended, well ran, and I think it was a great attendance on the street and there. And just Coleman, did a fine job. Also like to recognize Patty Brown, passing, neighbor of mine for many years, Bob for many years, in the city. And all the family and also you also run and going. Whatever,
Thank you, Councilman Furry. Councilman Lutz?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to concur that great this PC said, and thanks to all the volunteers that put that together. That was a lot of fun, and I think both the people in the parade and the people on the side. The planning board met and we approved a new ice cream parlor because that A-frame on Route 9 studio many years ago. That will be called well, a new ice cream parlor in town with a lot of success. They used some variants because they were under by a lot.
Mhm.
And we memorialized the learning center, which will be on the corner of Ridgewood and Route 9, now 153 preschool students, which is also nice to see new businesses coming into town. On that, note, looking for a code enforcement zoning officer, like Dallas is retiring soon. So yeah, in Florida not working out, so everybody knows someone who has the skills. We have to step forward. The other thing about the planning board is they voted down cannabis, first vote. It was down by 2 votes on the first calling. And we had some more discussion and a revote, and so the zoning was approved by the zoning board for the regional commercial zone. And that's all I have this time.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
question, well, was there any correspondence or any communication with the veterans building that was in the paper that they claim is already approved? I mean, did they come before the board yet?
They came with a concept a few months ago, and it looked great. A builder has done some of these Veterans Administration buildings before, and it'll go next to where it is on Route 9, but no final plans or anything were submitted. The concept that they showed demonstrated a really vibrant center with lots of meeting space for larger groups and lots of smaller rooms for consultations. It'll be a real plus to our town and a real service to the veterans.
That's great.
Where's this located, Paul?
Where's it located?
Yeah.
So it's right next to where the administration, the veterans building is now.
Mhm.
So I guess it's where the Northfield tax office or.
Yeah, okay.
It's right in that area there.
I thought it was
It's really large
Tilton
structure.
Windows. It's your Tilton Windows. So
Tilton.
That's right.
are they
That's
gonna,
great. Good news.
do anything with the drainage out there, do you know?
Drainage ponds do fill up. Again, we're not at the,
Not at that stage?
yeah, not at that stage yet, but I'm sure the engineer will be looking closely at that.
Anything else? Okay, Councilman Notaro?
Thank you, Mr. President. From the fire department, I'll wait, I guess, with, to ongoing business to discuss the fire truck acquisition. From EMS, I met with Inspira and Egg Harbor Township, over at Egg Harbor Township, over some issues with dispatch. Inspira is trying to, correct some things and make things a little better. So that's kind of a nice plus to service to our residents. I'd also like to recognize and congratulate our 12U Little League on their district championship. That's a wonderful win. I saw it on, I saw the videos on Facebook. It was a nice thing. I also had the pleasure of driving a float for the varsity cheerleaders and the varsity championship football team. And it was really nice to see the kids out there enjoying themselves. They had a great time at that parade. In all my years, I've never seen the parade so energetic. I mean, you turn that corner and it was just a line of people. And it just seemed like everybody came out to this one. And, I'd like to thank Joan Brennan, Roy Clark, the entire cultural committee, which is 4 or 5 people. It's amazing what they did in 2 meetings. Mary, of course, Mary and Shannon for coming out and helping out the day of and making sure everything runs smoothly. Also the Chief Cummings and the volunteer fire department for all they do during the parade. It was really, really nice. Good, successful day, and I hope every year is the same. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman DeWeese?
The other thing I have tonight is I'd also like to congratulate the members of Little League for winning the district championship. That was awesome. And to thank all the Joe, Brennan, and all the volunteers who helped out with the parade. It was a well-attended, great event. It was nice to be out there. So that's all that I have tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to congratulate the Little League, stole my thunder a little bit with the success of the Little League and the District 16 championship for the 12U age group. They played last night 2 games. They had to win one of them. So Linwood did Linwood credit. They won the first game to force the final game, and the Northfield team was down by a run in the last inning and came back and scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning to win in walk-off fashion. Very exciting win. Wish the 12U district team luck as they move forward. Next week, at least Sunday or Monday, they begin their sectionals in Vineland. So we wish them luck as they pursue a further championship. We wish them great success. I also wanted to thank the volunteers for the parade. It was well done. It was nice to see after a year off that the parade went off as it did. I was very pleased to see the participation and especially the people lining the roads, to see all of the residents out there enjoying it. It was a pleasure to see everyone out there. I got a beautiful day for it as well. And also the Conley Mile coming back. You know, the band pulled that together as well, and they staged the Conley Mile again and had a tremendous turnout. I gave the loss to my 9-year-old daughter who nipped me at the finish line in just under 10 minutes, but give her credit for that. It was a great turnout for the Conley Mile. That was rough. I want to offer my condolences to Ronnie as well on the loss of the passing of his mother. My sincere condolences to you. And I also wanted to mention there was another gentleman I graduated high school with, Northfield resident Alan Mack, who passed away recently and suddenly. And I want to express my condolences to his family. He was a tremendous individual and will be missed. So I want to offer my condolences there as well. And finally, in terms of the zoning, also as shared services, I did reach out to Clark Township to ask about zoning enforcement. And coincidentally, theirs just resigned as well. And they are in the market for a zoning officer as well. So I did express that if they were able to find someone, if we could, if we could join together, I did express our interest in that. And the administrator said that she would, if that was a possibility, she would reach back out to me, but we're both in the same market, I suppose. We'll have to keep looking. For other avenues there. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Madden.
Nothing on insurance and safety today. Mainland, was out this summer. I meant to, maybe you felt that police work paid better than I do would help me with this, but I graduated Mainland High School was signed on the draft thing.
He was drafted.
Chase Petty was selected in the 26th pick by the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. I thought his last name was Petty, and I meant to bring the article, but his first name is Chase.
And his father was a coach in Northfield for years, so there's a Northfield connection. I know there's so much money now, but
There's some good ball players in South
he did have a tremendous.
So that's really exciting. And the library, I have some statistics. The attendance for June was 421. Material circulation was 1,221. E-book circulation 62. Audio circulation was 46, and fines 78. Just a side note, compared to last year, that was all 0. But compared to years 2019, 2018, we're still catching up quite a bit with the numbers that we want to move low, and but we're working on it. I just have one other thing to say regarding the library. That after serious consideration, several committee meetings with regards to consolidation of the auto rules library with the county system, it has been decided by the committee that no further consideration will begin to consolidation. The library will remain an independent entity within the city of Northfield and continue to serve the citizens of this community.
Councilwoman Madden, what committee are you referring to?
Well, we did meet committees, I was committee, also Mr. Luis, and also the board meeting committees for the board
Yes, but with all due respect, I'm in charge of that committee. And I said that we would have our committee meeting. Now, we did not make any discussion, we did not make any decision, my committee, which was reviewing it. And I said to all of you, both you and Councilman Deweese, that we would meet at a further date to discuss our findings that when we met with the county. So with all due respect, I think this is a slap in my face that you are making a statement that we have, as a committee, we have not met or made a decision.
I'm sorry if I offended you, but Mr. Deweese spoke this up to me.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry if I offended you, but.
We discussed the committee, and our recommendation is not to pursue it. That doesn't mean, still haven't talked about it, but our recommendation.
Right, and I said that after our meeting with the county, we would meet again. All right, now you may have a difference of opinion, and I respect that. But no one has talked to me. If that's your decision that was made, you left me out of the meeting.
We didn't have a meeting, we're talking about, we met with.
You just said the committee made the decision. Am I correct?
First of all, don't yell at me.
What?
Don't yell at me.
I'm not yelling at you, I'm looking at Mrs. Madden.
Don't yell at her.
Well, I am very pissed off, all right?
Good, but don't yell.
I don't care what you say, Councilman. You can yell, I can yell. If you don't like what I'm saying, then close your ears and don't listen to me. But I am very annoyed, all right? Whether you like it or not, that's fine. That's your decision. But to leave me out of a meeting and decision, that is a slap in my face. I am sure that if you were in the same predicament, you would be yelling or be very pissed off.
There was no other meeting, though. There was no other meeting. We're talking about, we met with.
She just said the committee made that decision. Mrs. Madden, did you just say the committee made that decision? Did you say the committee made that decision, Mrs. Madden? Excuse me. Mrs. Madden, did you just say that the committee made that decision with all due respect?
We're not getting anywhere.
Excuse me. I am talking to Mrs. Madden. And the reason why I'm raising my voice is because you're interrupting me. Mrs. Madden, did you say that the committee met and made that decision? What's that? I'm sorry. What did you say? Who said that? Excuse me. Who said that, please? Who said that, please? Who's discussed it? Okay, so I'm chopped liver. Because I'm part of that committee, I called the committee, Mrs. Madden, with all due respect. All right, is that correct? Am I suddenly now, because I'm a different color, that I'm left out of this meeting? Well, I feel that way. I feel that way. I feel discriminated. And I will not tolerate that. You may have a difference of opinion, but do not leave me out of the meeting. Do you understand that if you had a meeting and I left you out of the decision process, you would be pissed off? Oh, don't you start making up things and telling me that I'm not involved in this meeting. I am sorry that I am pissed off, but I am not going to tolerate this.
Mayor, please, that's enough.
And I apologize for reaching out, but I am so pissed off. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you. And I apologize for, all of this, that I wasn't able to control earlier. I have no committee meeting, no committee report. Again, I'll just reiterate what many people said. Congratulations to the Little League for their success and Chase Petty, of course. The parade was quite a success. Other than having to push the Mustang off to the side of the road, I had a wonderful time.
You had a
Every fourth, right?
And that's,
Frank, did you have to go get the tow truck?
Oh, right, every day. Oh, I'm sorry. You went right over my head, Frank.
I think just every.
Yeah, it's a small car. It's good. We had a lot of help. We'll move on then to the work session. The Zion Road Pump Station.
Thank you, Council President. The submission package is being prepared. We should have it by the end of the week, so we'll be ready to submit to the planning board by Monday. So I'll contact Mary to see who's going to sign the application and how to get the escrow fee check. So I'll handle that between Mary and Dawn for the check for the application fee.
Romney, before we submit to the planning board, I have to put that piece of property under contract. So I'll need a copy of your site plan to attach to the agreement.
I can have that emailed to you tomorrow. I'll get somebody to
Thank you.
email to you. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
but I need to get that under contract.
So before we can submit,
I'm sorry?
before we can submit, because we need probably the consent of the owner to submit.
Correct.
Should,
I might be able to get their consent. Well, the agreement of sale should be reviewed and executed by council in August, so we could probably submit immediately thereafter. But
well, I mean, if the owner of the property is willing to sign on the application, we can have him sign as an owner and the municipality will sign as an applicant.
I think I'd rather be under contract when we do that.
Okay. All right, I'll send that out to you
I
tomorrow
can
then.
discuss that with Brian here.
Okay.
But we've been waiting on that plan so that we can attach it to the.
All right, I'll
agreement.
send it to you tomorrow then.
Very good.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks.
Mr. Facenda,
Yes,
do we have to do the ordinance to authorize the purchase of land before we go under contract?
we have a few things to do. yeah.
Okay.
How about would you like to continue with the
Yes.
Northfield Avenue?
Yes, I haven't got any answers back from the state regarding the contribution, how we are going to proceed with this. I sent a couple emails and I'll reach out back again to the state to see how they want to split the pot. Let's put it this way.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you like to
I
move
got-
right
yeah.
on to the road?
Yeah, I got one more item
Continue
on.
with your items?
Yeah, last meeting, we talked about the 2021 local road program, and I submitted to the council a list of the road. Were you guys able to look at the road, see any addition, any deletion from the list?
Anyone?
You know, I did not. And
So should you-
I could do it tomorrow
No.
and
Yeah,
get back to you right
Yeah,
away.
I mean, it's up to council. We can wait till next month, or you can respond.
I didn't see anything on there that, I mean, it made sense to me when I went through them prior meeting, but I think we should move forward with your proposal so we can get this rolling.
All right, then how about if any council person would want, any discussion, then you can just email me and I'll either add it or do. Okay.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Is there anything on the stormwater?
No, the county has not got back with me on
Okay.
the legal documents. I left it in on their side to prepare the agreement so we can bring at least a draft agreement to council. I haven't received that yet, so.
Okay. Nothing on the parking lease. The next item, the shared court, I'll just say a few words. Mayor, please, and then if you have anything to add. Lately, there's been a perception that Northfield has been against or fighting against a shared court or shared services. That's a misrepresentation, and it's obviously wrong. Northfield's always been a leader in sharing of services. And maybe that's maybe that's one of the reasons we had so many alternatives to consider. And we will be negligent if we didn't vet all of those out and evaluate every proposal to make sure we're doing what's best for the city, regardless of whose proposal it is, or the other thing would be that Northfield, since we've been involved in many shared services, we do realize what some of the pros and cons are. So again, that's our job, was to evaluate those. I think everyone here on the dais has that responsibility to review everything. And I commend everybody for their participation in that process. Some have been working on it for months, going through all the different proposals. And in particular, I'd like to thank Mayor Chow for his leadership on the county proposal. Councilman Smith, your participation in all the proposals. Mayor Canisi, who helped us with all of them as well. Our CFO, Dawn Stollenwerk, crunching the numbers for us, especially in the last one where we had very little time to evaluate all the proposals. And our solicitor, Mr. Facenda, who facilitated everything and is keeping an eye on it from the legal perspective and making sure we don't miss something. That said, the one proposal that is on the agenda tonight is being pulled. That's the Hamilton proposal. They have backed out. So that will take out two of our agenda items tonight. Let's see, that will be the executive session and the number 126 and number 128. Mayor, if you have anything to add,
Thank you, Council President.
and thank you for the floor.
I certainly appreciate everyone's hard work and diligence in terms of looking into this. And as Council President pointed out, it's our responsibility in terms of looking out for our residents and taxpayers. And certainly I am proud to say that this council has done that. This is virgin territory for us here in Atlantic County in terms of consolidation of courts. We have talked about this not only on this dais, but also throughout the state in terms of consolidation of shared services or joint services. And I am very proud of what Northfield has done throughout the many years, being part of many different ventures of shared services. Let me just say that, and I understand your reservation and hesitation because this is something new, but we are doing it for the citizens, and we are looking for the best, and we've taken our time. And in all my years of experience dealing with shared services, there's always going to be some losers and there's always going to be some winners. And hopefully at the end of this down the road, we're all going to come out ahead. And I truly believe that regardless of whether we go with the county or we were going with another municipality, we're doing best for the city of Northfield. So I thank everyone for their work and diligence. And I just hope that this works out for not only for Northfield, but the other municipalities that are going to be involved on the county level. So thank you very much, Council President, and thank you, members of council.
With that, is there any discussion on the court, since that is our one to vote on this evening?
Just take a moment, I want to thank the mayor as well for all his efforts on that. He's really done a yeoman's job of being involved and present in those meetings with the county court system to set that up. So
Thank you, Councilman.
I want to thank Mayor Chow for doing that. We do have to, I think we need to still be in touch with Linwood. We have to certainly make sure that the county system, which we look forward to joining, or at least I anticipate that we look forward to joining. There certainly will be questions about whether it will be up and running January 1st. So we need to stay on top of that and obviously have some type of, in conjunction with Linwood, some type of something in place so that it does not succeed in getting started January 1st. We need to have a contingency plan. So I just want to throw that out there that, we hope and we look forward to the county taking charge of that and getting up and running, but we do need to be aware of that in case it doesn't.
Thank you. Yes?
My concern is pandemic and our numbers that weren't factored in. Next year, we're gonna be looking at a $60,000 increase because we can't make those numbers. And, is that a possibility?
Well, it'll be whether with us in this, even without, I think it's just 6 or 7 municipalities. When we looked at the numbers last meeting, it is still a savings from the 20, from the prior years. And it is a savings from what we budgeted for. And in addition to that, if other municipalities or some large municipalities out there that may be joining, that would make it even a better financial decision for us in addition to the services that they offer.
So this first year is really gonna be a trial year for we come out with it.
Mhm.
And it's a shame that this happened, the pandemic, at this time when we're trying to put it through. But hopefully our numbers will come back up where we reach break even.
Yeah. One of the good things about one of the positives is the ability to do so much remotely now.
Right.
That wasn't prevalent in the past.
Yeah, and, you know, I know it's been a big undertaking for everybody, and there's a lot of people involved, and, the mayor and everybody put a lot of time into it, and, hopefully it works out for everybody. It's still, as a caveat, would like to see, central dispatch eventually from the county, and, also the tax side. That's just a caveat I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, that was something we've been looking forward to for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, while you have the floor, Councilman Perry, do you have anything on the sump pumps to?
I've got a price on construction of that, and it is expensive to put a system in like that. My recommendation at this point would be to ban it in municipal streets and basically have it on site and go from there. You know, it does create a problem where if they do put it into our sanitary sewer, but you know, the ordinance would be very expensive for them to put this in on site. You know.
Is there any possibility of allowing it where people, where it's not puddling? If they,
I would recommend just a ban, you keep it on site as much as possible. This one on Yorkshire is actually pumped right into the street through underground plumbing.
It travels quite a ways before it hits the stormwater, and it gets messy.
You have 50 feet or you have 150 feet, it's stolen. You know, you can't do one and not the other. My recommendation right now would be to ban.
okay. Anyone, any other input?
I just don't know if it's on site. But I get your point, but who, how are you gonna do that?
You have to pump it out into your grass or some type of
Retention.
I don't see any other alternative.
Listen, I'm not saying I don't agree with it, it's just, my goodness.
Recharge systems are out there where you can actually store it and recharge your irrigation systems, but they don't cost money. You know, that's true. The only other option is, you know, to try and put it out to where the biggest section of your property where it will absorb.
It's going to be good luck.
I guess we could start putting something together for that then, and we'll discuss it further if we can come up with a.
You know, as a last, you know, case resort, I mean, I have no other option other than prohibiting it from this point on. You have to make it on a on-site containment. If you do a site plan, you have to maintain your water on site. It can't roll off. And if you do development, it has to be on that property. Retention, detention, and, you know, basically this is the same issue. It's just.
And those in place will just be grandfathered in.
I don't see how we could go backwards.
Right, okay.
I mean, I have to say, in this particular situation is the exception, because you gotta have more people have some pumps, probably pumping out into the grass. This would happen to be piped right out to the curb, so.
Mhm.
And there's one or two other ones that we know about. throughout the town. Okay.
Yeah,
I was surprised one of them actually moved it since we've been talking about it. It is on site now. But it's not built into the curb line right into the street.
But it's our road.
so we'll just have to, I mean, the ones that are currently in place, if they create a problem, we'll just have to, through our city works, we'll have to help ensure, since it's in our drainage, it's in our storm system in effect, since it's in that curb line. So if it starts gathering debris and puddling, then that one is gonna, those in particular will be on us to make sure that they keep running at least as best they can on a flat street.
So are you grandfathering existing? Is that?
Yeah, you can't, yeah, I mean, yeah,
From here on out?
if they voluntarily take it out.
Right.
Then
Yeah, I think it's only right that we clean it up.
we're gonna have to keep an eye on it, and
And it's
I would hope
only,
the residents that have those would keep an eye on it themselves,
Yeah.
but we can't rely on that, so then it falls on us.
could you treat it like a, how if you let your grass grow a little high and you don't cut it?
It's in our, no, I don't,
You know,
I don't know.
I don't know if you can do that, but it's a thought.
We can look into that. That white, since you're,
Since I'm up.
next item there then would be the fire truck. You had asked to discuss that?
The, at this point, I spoke with Chief Cummings and Eric Shankus, who had, they put together a committee, to search for a fire truck. Ironically, last night I was at the officers' meeting discussing other issues pertaining to dispatch. And they had a demo there, believe it or not, and it was, it's a very nice truck, and it works very well, so that's where we're at. I mean, they're just, right now, they're just searching and looking and trying to put together a detail of what they need. They definitely will be modest in what they need, no embroidered seats and so forth, but that's kind of where we're at this point.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is the demo available? Not
They
yet?
come available
Not yet?
quite a bit, actually, but I don't know if we're ready to buy it. So that one probably will be
Yeah.
gone. And I don't think that one kind of sufficed their needs. I think there's a few things that it needed that,
Okay.
yeah,
Let's see.
but it sure was nice.
New business. Do we have any other grants pending? Okay.
Tim Joe's here.
Yeah, so at this point, what we can do is move on to Tim Joe, sorry, for the emergency management coordinator, to the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation planning.
Got that right. Hi, Tim Joe, Emergency Management Coordinator, reside at 811 Shore Road. I wanted to come tonight and just update everybody on the plan, or what we call the plan rather than spelling it all out. It is run by the county, which we're a part of, and some of the requirements are outreach, which is one of the reasons why I'm here tonight. I attended the planning board meeting last week, announced it there. I'm hoping to make the fan meeting, which I believe is this Thursday, to get the word out there. The other requirement is just to have some, what they call a jurisdictional assessment team, which would be made up of Northfield stakeholders, such as yourselves, that would come together and discuss this, which I hope to have someone tonight, one or two people from the council tonight to agree to be on that assessment team. Probably one, maybe two meetings. Our part of it has to be submitted by August 18th. So we only have about a month to get our stuff in order. It's not going to be a big lift. We already already have a plan that was completed in 2016. So we basically got to look at that plan, what was updated, what was completed, what do we want to continue, is there anything that we want to add? Some of the things that are in there are items like getting a tree expert to come in and look at potential hazard trees that could fall and take power out, or take power out and cause a large scale power outage, which is our number 1 vulnerability here in Northfield, is power outages, regardless of the quality. Other things would be a generator for the public works building, just to allow them to work during power outages and storms and debris management and things like that, as well as some other equipment and things. I believe we had like 16 items listed, of which I believe 2 or 3 have been completed. One, of course, was a bucket truck, which I understand Public Works has received, so that one we can close out. So unless anybody has any questions, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. You guys have in your handouts the fact sheet on the county plan. We will be discussing this Thursday at the county coordinators meeting. They have a consultant that the county hired to help us through this process. I already had a meeting with them for about an hour discussing our involvement. And then we'll just be continuing through the process. A lot of it, actually, one thing I did want to mention, I believe Rami was speaking last month or month before about the storm drains on Shore Road that mix in with the county. That project, maybe not that specific location, but that project in general is one of our projects on this list. And the purpose of this list is just to identify our potential vulnerabilities, how can we mitigate those vulnerabilities to, minimize our loss, and look at potential grant sources in the future. If mitigation grant funding comes available, whether that be pre-disaster or post-disaster, if these are already identified in our plan, they take a higher priority when FEMA looks at it to grant money. That we've already planned this, it's already been discussed. It's not like, oh, like here's an idea, let's throw that on the table. So they definitely look at the planning and the involvement of the community for things like this. So if nobody has any questions, or does anybody have any questions? I will let you guys discuss who would like to
If you're
volunteer.
looking for volunteers to help with that, I'll help you.
I would help with that too, Tim.
All right, great.
Definitely. Okay.
And I'll follow up with you afterwards. Like I said, 1 or 2 meetings, that's about it. Whether it's during the day or at night, we can figure that out.
Tim, I'd just like to say thank you for your service, and you take a proactive approach to everything you do, and I think it's just wonderful to have a guy like yourself on the team with us, and it's good to have you. So thank you. Do a good job. I enjoy our monthly meetings.
Great. They're going to be getting excited.
And just a quick question, since you mentioned the trees, maybe power outages. Have you seen that, they actually put out interest in that as well? Do they have?
They
tree
do.
experts, like, they actually don't want their lines.
Absolutely. They, I believe they hire, just like we were looking at them, they hire a third-party company. Whether that's the orange truck that came.
Yeah.
Asplund.
Yeah.
Asplund, yeah, that goes out and does all that. And they basically look specifically at their lines. What I'm looking for would be trees that are dead or dying that would fall over. I don't know if Atlantic City Electric goes that far with it, but that does seem to be our number 1 concern here is power outages.
Anyone else for the? No one? Thank you,
All right,
Tim.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.
In the new business, I want to mention one item that we do have on the agenda is the, was it number 128? The ordinance, I'm sorry. Ordinance number 8, which would be the prohibition for the cannabis. And the reason that's on there is, what that is, I recommend, or my opinion would be to pause the cannabis before we go forward. At this point, we still have no idea what the legislation is. So while they say that there's 37 licenses, we don't know what the ultimate number is going to be. If we do that, as I said in the last meeting, if the legislation comes out and everything is way better than the first pass through on what our Trenton legislators put out, we can move forward. It doesn't do anything but put this on pause because our deadline is August. So if we move forward with the ordinance that we've already voted once and pass it in August, those things in there are permanent. And if we miss something that the state comes out with, we live with those for 5 years. And after those 5 years, anything that we don't like is going to be grandfathered in forever. If we pause it, that's temporary, and we can move forward at any time. It might be a slight delay for any businesses that wish to move forward. And certainly we realize that 70% of the state and 70% of Northfield voted for it. Pausing it doesn't stop it. It just lets the state come out with what they're proposing so that we're not presenting forward an ordinance for Northfield in a bubble and we get some oddity that we can't undo. As I said, we don't know what they're coming out with, and that's my concern. I have a big concern there, and don't want to be caught living with something that we don't want to live with. Lastly, I'll say that take the recommendation of our chief of police, Chief Newman, recommends that. At the last meeting, he did recommend we pause it. There's no reason we need to run forward into it at this point, but we can, again, we can always, as more information comes out of Trenton, we can then figure out what's best for Northfield, and then we can also decide, again, if they extend this date or if they expand the number of licenses, we don't know how many we might end up with.
Just can you clarify the difference between pause and?
Well, this opt-out, I'm just saying, all it does is it pauses us. If we don't have something in place by August, and what we're set up now for is the one that passed it. That resolution or that ordinance has gone through once. This resolution would run concurrently, and as of August, we would then, if we would, obviously what I would like is that we pass the prohibition. If we find out between now and then, we're still in good position to go either way at that point. At this point, if we don't prohibit it tonight, it'll be too late then.
But this is only the regional commercials in the whole town.
No, let's be prohibiting everything.
And then if you put it in later on, that means that all zones are eligible for development.
No, then we would just go back to our original ordinance that passed. We would put that in place. We can reverse the prohibition anytime.
Like you can have it. I mean, like it was passed, the ordinance was passed to permit
As-
this in the city at the last meeting. And as you mentioned, I mean, 70% of the residents in Northfield are in favor of it. I think you set yourself up to missing some opportunities. I mean, there are people that are interested in starting a retail business.
I'm sure there are.
I'm sure you read the letter to the huge Giordano.
I also read the first law that the state put out.
What?
I also read the first presentation that the state put out, and what they put out was deplorable. And if they come out with something similar, we're stuck. That's my point. That's my biggest and most,
Some cities are already, Mr. Giordano.
I'm not concerned about the other cities. I'm on Northfield's dais. This is my job. I agree that it's going to pass. I'm asking that it,
I don't see why you're putting up an ordinance to prohibit it after it's been passed.
It's only been
it
introduced.
hasn't fully passed yet. We only had the first, it's an ordinance. It only went through one reading.
So what are your concerns that the state might come up with that would impact Northfield in a negative manner?
Be specific.
The main one of them being the number of licenses. So there's, right now, they say 37. What if there's 337? That changes how many Northfield could potentially have. And although it may be something we want, do we want one? Okay, do we want two? Do we want five? I don't think five is a good idea regardless of what they're selling.
We don't have that many liquor licenses.
Yeah, I doubt.
But those are population controlled.
We compete on that level, but I.
My point being, we don't know what the criteria is going to be for a license.
So, Mr. President.
My point is, we don't know what they're putting, we don't know what's going to come from the state.
Again, I'm not quite sure the concern, but, you know, as I said before, in business, there's no secrets, only head starts. The money's already flowing, and it's flowing into those areas that have approved it. And, you know, you may wait to Northfield's own detriment. I mean, this literally could generate, I think, at least 40,000 a year, probably more, which on a bond level could pay for a fire truck. If you miss the boat and the money goes elsewhere, you missed out, and you haven't done your residents.
Can I give an example?
My concern is, my concern is the unknown and signing a blank check.
May I give an example?
Well, would you
Okay.
have, go ahead.
So the state right now, liquor licenses are issued based on population. We can't issue another one if we want to, based on population. So before prohibition, did anyone contemplate that the state might put forth a population control on liquor licenses? No, nobody did, but that's what they did. That's the unknown. We don't know what rules there will be. So suppose there is no limit on the number of licenses, and we end up with the entirety of that section being all cannabis businesses, and other businesses who are currently there say, I don't want to be next to a cannabis business. Maybe they won't. We don't know. I did hear feedback from businesses who said, I don't want to be next to a cannabis business. So
But that's not a real unrealistic picture you're painting. I really-
what's unrealistic is that we're assuming we know what the state's rules are, and we don't. That's what he's trying to say.
I'll give you a better example. Would you have expected that the state would put out a law that if they caught an underage person with marijuana smoking, or they smelled it, that if a police officer approached that child, that the police officer would be charged and the child would go free with nothing? Would you expect the state to do that?
No, there was certainly a good intention gone wrong. The intention was.
That was a good
to save
intention?
Minors from having something on their record that is going to become legal, that would follow them for the rest of their lives. We don't know what the state's going to come up with, that's true, but I find it hard to believe that if they even have unlimited licenses and that competition would allow, competition would allow 25 ice cream parlors on Tilton Avenue. It wouldn't work. Some of those would fold. I mean, it's just the manner of business. The other manner of business is, again, head starts count. And as you delay, what you may find is that you cut yourself out of a nice source of revenue that, again, could literally pay for this $1 million fire truck they're about to go. If you're interested in serving the residents of Northfield, then 70% of them said they want cannabis to be legal. And I'm sure none of them, or all of them, would want to have some of their costs mitigated by revenue that could be generated in this industry. I don't know what the state could come up with that could be so frightening, but my guess is if
We're in New Jersey, you realize that, right?
yeah, but again, my guess is that municipal ordinances could be created to protect Northfield from scenarios. again,
Not anymore,
the
but-
scary
Well, I mean-
scenarios are
They could come back with the same thing they had before.
About,
they could put the minors things back in.
Yeah, again, that was, I think everybody agrees that parents need to be notified
Well,
when their child is
again,
in the wrong
I
path.
only mean to say this because
But that's a lot of what ifs and.
Yeah.
so's the
Again,
40,
I-
so's the 40,000. So's the,
Details, that's the point.
We're missing an opportunity.
I bring it up for discussion.
Throw away good
I bring it up for
opportunities
discussion and,
that
and
Taxpayers of this state, 70% of which wanted this, you're throwing away.
Can I comment on that, by the way? I'm tired of hearing this 70% thing. While that may be factual, that voted in favor of it, I've talked to a number of Northfield residents who voted in favor of it, who do not want cannabis business in Northfield, and they will vote against that.
You voted for 3 liquor licenses last meeting, and that's, what's the difference?
What's the difference?
I've been pretty consistent. I am opposed to this legislation.
Well, I understand that, but you're not opposed to alcohol.
It's legal.
No,
So is-
vodka is legal.
And it's
So it's-
we have alcohol.
But can I
We
clarify
have
something?
this-
cannabis is still illegal federally.
We don't have it.
Is the zoning regulation part of what the planning board has to put in place? How many and where you go? You're not putting out where everything is going to be regulated. It's got to be regulated and approved by an amendment to the land use ordinance. So if you say you're only allowed to have 1, 2, so be it. That's the law.
well, that's not in our
Because
ordinance.
that's what has to be drafted after it's approved.
We can also charge for
Okay.
these licenses to get. a li-
Listen, I
you
just
can-
want, I just
I
want to
mean,
have
some of
that
these towns are
discussion.
charging.
Respectfully, the liquor license, the state caps a liquor license fee. We are not allowed to charge more than 2,500. We're not.
Yeah.
The state could come across and say, you're not allowed to charge a fee.
That's true.
We don't know. And
That
I've
is
seen
true.
enough crazy laws.
Some towns are actually
I'm not against it, I'm
already
just
putting ordinance in place, charging for this. Yeah, and Absecon as well.
Listen, I'm not
But-
trying to,
But Mary is 100% right with that. The state may say, hey, you know what? You can't do that.
But
You know,
the
you
city
can't do
has the
this.
right to say 1, 2, or 3. Don't say.
That's
we're
true
gonna
too.
be,
Yeah.
Opening it up, to we're gonna have a mega, thing here. This is not.
this,
That's not in
Right.
our ordinance.
Councilman Perry, I think to some extent, the city can control the location. If the state says that, well, let's use liquor, for example, that you can have 3 licenses in the city of Northfield based upon its population, if that same analysis arguably is used by the state, we are not able to trump the state's rules and regulations by way of zoning. So, and we do not have any provisions in the ordinance as drafted limiting the number of licenses on the theory that the state is going to establish that. So I didn't want, if the state trumps our legislation, we can't legislate over what the state says.
So all the other towns that approved it have all this recommendation in there already. How many? where?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
And then just so everybody is clear, unless we formally opt out of some or all of the license types by adopting a quote-unquote opt-out ordinance by August 21, we will be deemed to have opted in for anything that we didn't opt out of for a period of 5 years.
in the regional commercial,
I'm sorry?
in the regional commercial zone.
Well, everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere. In other words, if we do nothing,
Right.
it's permitted everywhere.
It's a conditional use in the zone. It still has that plan approval.
no, that's what our ordinance, we're saying, he's saying if we don't,
If you do nothing, it is a conditional use in every zone, except for residential.
If you do nothing, you're deemed to have opted in, regardless of whether it's a conditional use or a permitted use, you're deemed to have opted in, and you are stuck with that decision for a period of 5 years. Conversely, if you opt out or prohibit certain activities, you can reverse that decision. So in other words, you're stuck with the opt-in by doing nothing option for 5 years. If you opt out now, you could adopt the ordinance number 7 next month.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, all I'm saying, I just want that clarification known by council, and I hope it's clear, because it gets confusing, but if you do nothing, or if you do nothing, you're locked in for 5 years. If you opt out now, you can change it next month, or in 2 weeks after that, after you have your next meeting. I just want that procedure known to this council before you would act on 7 or 8.
It just gives us the ability by the next meeting,
Tom,
if more information becomes available.
Did you mention that you had a conversation with Chief about this? Did you say that?
No, the chief spoke at the last meeting.
But any time constraints on this, the one you're talking about?
As Mr. Pacenda just said, so if we voted on this now, all it is, we have both of them to discuss, and we vote on one of them at the next meeting.
Why go to the last meeting when we voted to permit?
It has not passed yet. It has to be voted on.
Yeah.
It was only introduced, that's
I
all.
understand that, but it was passed 5-2, then that's when the ordinance to prohibit went away. It was not.
We didn't present it.
We voted to permit it and introduce.
We did not introduce it at the last meeting, so I'm asking to introduce it now. That's all.
I don't see any positive reason to do this after.
Okay.
You know.
Probably gambling's a good example. Gambling was in Atlantic City only in the beginning, and the town vote, and they mismanaged it. That's a shame. But now casinos are everywhere, and all of them are struggling.
Yeah.
So first come get some, last come get left behind. So you're going to cost the town revenue if you prohibit, because businesses are going to go elsewhere. I think Linden's approved retail. correct?
Revenue is important, but it's not the only concern.
No, that's true. Absolutely. But I really think you're overthinking this, and you see a boogeyman. But again, I've seen pot legal in various states, and it's really no different than bootleggers. It's a place where people go, they walk in, they show their ID, it goes through a machine, they go in the back, they buy their stuff, and they walk out. And it's just another retail establishment. And alcohol, on the other hand, kills people all the time. Both my father and one of my mother-in-law were victims of drunk driving. And yet we approved this town. And marijuana's never killed anyone, except for the gangs that try to control it. But of course, this would take some of the revenue out of their time.
Well, we
I
don't,
think you're gonna miss getting in on, as they say, the ground floor, and it will cost the city money. But that's all right.
It
That's-
could.
you're- as you say,
I'm merely, again, I'm bringing it for discussion to make sure we evaluate it completely. That's all. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see what the state comes back with. But that said, we'll, I mean, you talk about alcohol, but we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, people drive under the influence of marijuana. Maybe they drive slower, maybe not. I don't know.
Do you have any
Maybe they veer, maybe they still hit somebody on the sidewalk, but
Texas is a problem there.
Texting is a bigger problem, driving and texting.
no, and if you're,
It's illegal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we
So-
have any indication from, maybe the state or anybody
There's
have any
nothing,
idea?
no, and that is my point, because I just, again, I fall back on the same answer. The first thing that came out leaves me no confidence.
I'm not opposed to the sale, but I do understand the hesitation.
That's all.
I
If
do
it was
understand.
to worry about the boogeyman and lose out on revenue.
Let's see, okay, the regular agenda, please address your agendas, we'll, as we mentioned, let's see, okay, the approval of the minutes, Councilwoman Madden and Councilman Lutz. Resolutions, and they'll be excluding 20.
No.
I'm just mentioning it excludes 126 and 128.
Who's doing those, Tom?
I would like Councilman Perry and Councilman DeWeese. The ordinances. Ordinance 5 and 6. Councilman Notaro and Councilman Smith. And ordinance 8. Councilman Smith and Councilman Perry. Payment of bills. Councilman DeWeese, Councilman Utz. And meeting notices, Councilman Notaro.
Mr. President, can I ask a question, just procedurally from my office?
Yes,
And this is to all of council and the solicitor. If ordinance 7 passes at the next meeting, permitting the use in the regional commercial zone, a business comes to my office and wants to apply for a license, what can they do before the regulatory framework is in place?
Nothing. That's right.
So we're not up there.
Nothing.
we have to wait till the legislature.
So what is the head start exactly? I don't understand. I'm going to be the one answering the questions.
We're under a deadline.
Right, so the state puts forth the rules, and then if it's a 2-meeting month, we could pass an ordinance. I'm going to get the questions. I've already had questions about people wanting to come to Northfield. And I say, we didn't adopt our ordinance yet.
That's it.
They're going to see our ordinance and they're going to say, now what do I do?
So the state comes out with the final regulations, but you can start looking at real estate, you know what you're doing.
And will it still have to go to the planning board, Mr. Perry?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any topic whatsoever, and I'll please ask you to recognize a 5-minute limit per speaker. You had your hand up first. Thank you for waiting patiently for so long.
It's been quite enlightening. Come to hear you conduct your business here. Make this all.
Are you going to come to more meetings or less?
I'm here tonight to share
Name.
Could you
a
please,
couple insights.
I'm sorry, could you give us your name and address,
John
please?
Conover, 26 Ordinance Avenue. Okay. I'm here tonight to share a couple of insights and look for solutions to the rental property at 31 Northfield Avenue. I grew up in that neighborhood and watched it change a mixed young family and retired people. You know, just a community, our community. You know, I grew up in that house. My family's owned and paid taxes in that property for 67 years. And bought it in 1953. I'm the third owner in my family. Okay. Problem one is the speeding on our street. You have a narrow street. And the residents or the renters, squatters, or whatever they are, refuse to slow down. Okay, they were approached by numerous people on my street. And they were told, you're not my father, mind your own business and go F yourself. Okay. Problem two is the inability to place trash in containers with lids to try to abate the rodent problem that has invaded my property. I'm right next door to it. Since they moved the trash from where it's been stored for 66 years to my property, Now, we get to pick up after them. Seeing the rats, squirrels, and birds pick at the trash day after day, and the McDonald trucks, the McDonald cups, you know, it just, I'm really upset. I'm very upset. Visitors at this address have no problem throwing their styrofoam dinner plates and trash from McDonald's and every place else in town right on the curb, and it sits there for weeks. Or till the storm comes along and washes it down to another neighbor that picks it up. It's come to the point where my wife has to tell the people, the renters or squatters or whatever they are, hey, tomorrow's trash day. Could you please put the trash out to the curb? Last week, they put it out there. Unfortunately, the trashman didn't pick up all the trash. So that stayed, what they had missed, stayed out there for us, for my neighborhood. Even though they took the cans to the back. This is what I'm dealing with here. It's very serious. Problem 3 is the inability of these renters to stay off my property. They have a basketball hoop that sits on my property with a chair so they can adjust the hoop height on my property. And they use my house as the out of bounds. Yesterday, after the residents and friends played ball, you know, I go out and there's trash on my yard, you know, and they think nothing of it. They think nothing of it. It's unbelievable. Our interactions with these neighbors have been courteous, but we are disappointed over the transient nature of the residents. Last week, I got to witness an arrest, which I'm sure you all know about. Cars come and go at all hours of the day. Last night I was up at 3:30 in the morning. Here comes a car up. Guy jumps out of the car, runs in the house. What's going on here? No, this is the North that I know. I'm going to let you all know. Make sure you go by there tonight after the meeting. It's the fourth house on the left from Shore Road. Some nice grill in the front, you know, they like the grill right in the front, fire pit in the front once in a while, the whole deal there. That's what we got going for us on Northfield Avenue. Hopefully you can, you know, I sent pictures to the city. I've talked to the police. Hopefully you can mitigate this situation for me. Oh, by the way, you missed a great firework display there the other day. Had the street completely blocked. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for what you're dealing with.
My name is Christine Gordon, and I live at 101 Northfield Avenue. I'm a neighbor of John. I've lived on that street for 25 years, and I've been in this area, born and raised in Linwood, lived in Northfield when I became an adult, okay? That house that he's talking about is in foreclosure. No one's responsible. Tenants do what they want. They have no one to answer to. Trash and parties that spill out on the street. Loud cursing and racial slurs. They scream at each other on the street. Speeding cars in and out constantly. We've asked them to slow down because we have children on the street. My children are 30. I don't have little ones, but I have a nephew that was killed by a car. I do not want to go through this again. Okay? Speeding cars in and out constantly. Traffic in and out that is conducive to drug dealing. The cars leave every 15 minutes. They come in every 20 minutes. They're in and out, right? Fireworks out of control on the 4th of July. Here's the pictures of them, okay? They set them up like a foot apart, 50 of them, lit them all and shot them up in the middle of the street. I thought I was in Beirut in the 70s or something. It was insane. They're the rockets. They're not allowed to have for hours. They went over top of our houses, landed on the roof. I mean, other people were shooting off, but these were ridiculous. These were thousands of dollars worth of, this was like on the market for the fireworks. That's all I have to say about, but nobody can do anything about it because of the pandemic. And no one owns this house. It's not like you can call a landlord. It's like in foreclosure. So it's like we're being held captive by these people. We have a nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
Everybody minds their own business. They help each other out. We have, the whole street comes together all the time. Now we have this, and they're nice to our face, but they'll tell the kids, like I'm saying, 24-year-old kids that are the same age as some of them, they go up and they say, why don't you slow down like the people ask you? And they go, we don't want to. So it's really like we're living in a hell for the last year. That's all I have to say. Sorry.
Thank you.
Tom Boyd, 117 Northfield Avenue. Just like to echo a lot of what Mr. Conover and Ms. Gordon said. It's become a real nuisance and a hazard. This has been going on for a year and it's gotten considerably worse. I was the one that was told I was not the father when the first time I stopped them. And I stopped them. I mean, I'm at 117, right at the intersection. I'm blessed not to live next door to them like Mr. Conover does. But they're sometimes very respectful. The first time I talked to them, oh yes, okay. They have young children in their house. And the day this happened, I had my two granddaughters, a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, riding bikes. Thank goodness not in the street, but on the sidewalk. But at any rate, we've talked to them, we've stopped them. Sometimes they're very courteous, other times it's up yours, doesn't matter. Now, like Mr. Conover said, we grew up on the street. We've lived there, my family, since 1974. And we've never, as Ms. Gordon said, we've never had anything like this. It's a tight-knit street and community. Everybody looks after everybody else's situation. So honestly, and I know sometimes Ms. Gordon brought up the fireworks and so did Mr. Conover. I got to tell you folks, when those fireworks went off and my windows rattled, I thought for a moment it was 1967 and I was back in Vietnam. All right, so I think that's about all I have to say. I don't know. I've talked with the chief. They have some additional patrols and watch the street. But like Ms. Gordon said, they come and go all times. They're out within half an hour, they're back. And after you've talked to them, it's like, okay, we'll wait till we get to your house and then we'll floorboard it. Okay, it's like it was said, it's a narrow street with parking on both sides. Somebody's going to get hurt one of these days. It's going to be a shame. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council President, may I just add a few comments?
Yes.
I've had conversations with Mrs. Gordon, and I've driven down there most recently as a result of Mrs. Gordon's concerns and complaints. First of all, regarding the fireworks, the house is located a little bit closer towards Shore Road, and Mr. Boyd is all the way down at the end of the street. So these fireworks, to reach that sound level all the way down there and rattle his windows, it must have been a very powerful
I saw
scene.
the pictures. They were
Yes.
large.
I've spoken to the chief, and he has sent Captain Steineke there. I've spoken to the zoning official. I've spoken to our city clerk's office. And let me just say, it is deplorable. And I really sympathize in what these individuals are going through, let alone other people in this neighborhood. I don't know what the answer is. And Mrs. Gordon did point out one thing, that, the house is in foreclosure. There is nobody that's taken full responsibility. And because of the recent COVID-19, in terms of how one can be evicted, these people can live there, it seems like forever. And it's not fair. And I don't know what the city can do, as far as, I don't know if our solicitor has some examples or such solutions, but these people are going, and excuse my French, are going through hell over there.
I can certainly comment on that. To the extent that the property is in foreclosure, and I'm assuming that's the case based upon the representations of the public tonight, an eviction process cannot, so in other words, they have to complete the foreclosure process, get a judgment of foreclosure from the foreclosure court. Then and only then can they commence an eviction process, because then and only then do they technically own the property. So I don't know how far they are in the foreclosure process. They may be complete and just subject to the eviction moratorium, or they may be plodding through the eviction process, waiting to get that final judgment. Yes?
They're renting. The people, an LLC owns the house. They're in foreclosure.
Right, so the LLC is in foreclosure. The LLC is getting paid rent. They're collecting the rent while the bank is commencing the foreclosure and not getting any money from the owner.
Right.
Nothing that the city can do per se about that. That goes through the civil court, through the foreclosure court, and then through the landlord-tenant court. The other things, like trespass with the basketball court, or littering, or speeding, all of those things, I think you've already spoken with Chief Newman. Those would be all issues of, law enforcement that I'm sure Chief Newman and his officers are dealing with. And if there are code violations, we would have to send Mr. DiTallo out to review the property and see if there are code violations. Even if there are code violations, though, the landlord's going to get noticed. The landlord doesn't care because he's in foreclosure. Mary, do we still do community champion?
Yes.
We do, but I don't believe this property is yet in foreclosure. According to the records, we did check community champions.
You do not believe it's in foreclosure?
It is what in REM, it's on the way, whatever that first step is.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but to the extent that you want to find out where the property stands in terms of foreclosure, you may have to retain an attorney, or, do that research yourself. I don't think that's anything the city would ever get involved in. The enforcement mechanisms, the speeding and those things, that is something that the city can certainly try to help you with, and any code violations. But again, the code violations are a little difficult because you have a non-responsive LLC, but you may pull them in the municipal court, and,
Has there been, do we do a yearly rental registration on that property?
It's legal
And do we inspect it every year?
every 2 years.
Every 2 years we do our, okay. So, chances are he's probably not even getting in. They're probably not even.
It's a legal rental in every respect as far as the city is concerned. Mr. DiTallo has spoken with the owner of the property, who it's in the process of being foreclosed on. I believe the owner is equally frustrated. It is a very difficult situation.
And let me just add that, these individuals, and I've spoken to another neighbor, are fearful of any type of retaliation. I mean, that's how bad it is.
The owner can
Yes.
take steps to evict.
Murphy's got a moratorium.
He can certainly do that, but there's a moratorium.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if he's getting paid or not, but you can't evict for non-payment of rent right now. And I think they just
Right.
extended that moratorium for, and I don't know if these people are, under the, where they are in terms of the income bracket. But I believe if you're under the poverty threshold, they just extended it to December. So as Mary indicated, it's a tough situation for everybody. To the extent that there is criminal conduct, trespass, harassment, any of that stuff, you don't necessarily need the police department to, write those summonses. You can sign citizens' complaints, at which point they're reviewed by the judge for probable cause. If the judge finds probable cause, the summons will issue, and those people will be summoned into court. Best advice I can give you. Yes.
You mentioned, Mary had mentioned it's not in foreclosure yet, but even if it was, are there lawyers or the owner, can they be held responsible for anything at this point? I mean, even if
I mean, a landlord's not gonna be held responsible for, a tenant that assaults somebody or harasses somebody. If there are code violations, the owner would be responsible. But I mean, I don't think, just hypothetically, if they, harass Mr. Boyd every day for 3 weeks, I'm not sure it's a grounds for eviction. In other words, they could have a cause of action for eviction other than non-payment of rent. But that's a really difficult thing to do right now, especially with the COVID protocols. But in that situation, Mr. Boyd could certainly file a harassment complaint and, maybe get some relief in a municipal court.
Somebody like to elaborate on the arrest that Mr. Collins referred to?
He was arrested for setting someone on fire. Do you have someone on your street like that?
I'm just saying, I don't know.
After the fireworks, which they blew up, 50 people apart, set them off at the same time continuously for hours, right? It blew up like a the day or the next day or whatever, he lit somebody on fire. And the kid went to the emergency room and they had a fire report because he had second-degree burns on his arms and legs and everything. And then that's when he turned this kid in. He went to jail for overnight for a sleepover.
He's back.
For a sleepover. They let him take his jammies.
You're exactly correct, that's what happened. We were notified of this incident by point through Irish Memorial. So, through investigation, that in fact that illegal.
Yeah, I saw him back the other day. Helping out our neighborhood some more. Chief, I'm assuming that's something that went up to Superior Court as opposed to municipal court? So that's the county criminal court as opposed to a local municipal court, where more minor criminal violations can be handled. County handles the more significant stuff. County can remand it back to the Northfield court, but that may or may not happen.
Well, I hate to say it, but I'm going to now. There's actually some good kids in that house. But it's like a group home. There's one adult. And there's, I don't know how many people. 18, 20-year-old and younger. There's one adult. One adult. So they produce, I have 3 tenants across the street, produces 1 trash can of trash a week. These people produce 7 a week. A week. every week. So you can imagine how many people are in this place and what the inside looks like.
Well, that's part of it. There are, but you're supposed to put 7 cans out, that's for sure. They're not, there's no lease, I mean, I imagine there's no lease, and if there is, the extra people seem like just friends of those, so they're not legal renters, apparently, because they couldn't have that many people living in the home.
Is there one thing to stop this from happening? The landlord, this is an instance where the landlord is not even there. But when I was a landlord, I owned properties when I was in my 20s, and I rented them out. I visited them a couple times a week. I had a landscaper cut it because I knew they weren't going to do it, and I made sure it was in order all the time. These landlords should be held responsible, and if something goes on like that, they should be fined and, and arrested.
Well, as Mr. Facenda was saying, you have a landlord that's in foreclosure, they're not going to be, they're not responsive. It's just, they already owe the bank the price of the house. A ticket doesn't, a ticket affects you, you care. These people obviously don't, unfortunately, but that's, I mean.
That's it. Yeah, they don't care. They don't care that there's trash all over the street. They don't care that it's all over their lawn. They don't care if the trash gets to the curb. They don't care at all.
They don't care about us.
What amazes us is they have young children in the house too.
3 or 4, I'm not sure how many.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
We've mentioned to them, we have children and grandchildren on the street. Could you please slow down? Could you drive responsibly? Oh, sure. And then the next day, they'll come by, after you've spoken to them, they'll idle down and then floorboard it right up at the end of the street.
Like 50 miles, it's 50 or 60 miles an hour.
60 miles,
Not like 25 or 30.
Yeah.
Like dangerous.
And they all have new cars because they probably have stimulus money and they bought all new cars and toys, and that's where they got the car.
All right, I mean, obviously, we'll just need to talk about this again some more outside the meeting, but I mean, what we have the ability to do. I mean, it's a horrible situation, I agree. But it won't go unanswered. I mean, we'll do it.
Yeah, I understand it's a hard situation.
But we're not going to ignore it. That I promise
I
you.
appreciate that.
Is there anyone in Zoom?
Yeah. So we have Mr. David Goldstein, who says, why can't we have the home condemned as a health hazard? Mr. Goldstein, would you please state your name and address in the chat for me? If it's unsanitary and dirty and causing rats to be there, the property should be condemned as a health hazard. How about enforcing litter codes and fining bad people, hit them in the pocketbook? And he's 116 Dolphin Avenue. Thank you, Mr. Goldstein.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, could we?
Can something like that be done, just condemn the house?
You'd have to have Mr. Vitale go out, and probably the county would have to get involved.
I think the county has.
Yeah, the health department.
The county health department will deal with the rats. And they will come out.
Have they reported the rats to the county? Ask them.
Pardon me, Mr. Conover. Does anyone know if the rat problem has been reported to the county health department at all?
I
Yeah.
didn't. I notified our building inspector, but he never got back.
Rodents are the county. Yeah. You would need to notify the county board of health, sir.
The thing we're trying to do here is cost them the money, not cost us money.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So all these ideas of taking them to court, which is
our money against our money, that's no good.
Well, no, that's what we were saying is that it can be reported to the county health
Could-
department.
could-
If there is a rat problem, then it's a county issue where there's more support to
Could-
try to,
Investigated
Just-
for rabies and
could
all
Mike-
that
could-
all that stuff.
Could Mike forward this to the
Yeah.
county?
we'll
The
talk,
county
yeah,
health
we'll
department?
check with,
Because that usually does happen in municipalities when they get a complaint of rats.
And take pictures. Take pictures of the trash. So the county, in case they clean it up before they
Yeah.
get there.
Trash is a municipal violation. That
Yeah.
can be ticketed regularly.
Yeah.
Who do you ticket? The homeowner or the resident?
well, it would be
A lot of times it goes to the
the
landlord.
homeowner and then it goes nowhere.
That's what the county should do.
But that could be that could be another health hazard.
Depends on the litter restrictions. I mean, it would have to argue with it, has to be attached to something.
Okay. Anyone else on Zoom?
Is there anyone else in Zoom who would like to make a comment during the public comment portion of the meeting? There's nobody making a comment.
Okay. Seeing no one else, the public session is now closed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on just a
It
second.
is now open.
Mr. Goldstein, how about contacting Action News to do a story? Thank you, Mr. Goldstein.
Okay, we will reclose the public session. And do I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll take a brief minute and like 2 minutes and then we'll start the regular session.
Good evening. This is the regular meeting of Northfield City Council, July 13th of 2021. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. Due to social distancing requirements related to COVID-19, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. For this reason, the meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting, live streamed using Zoom conferencing service and in accordance with the governor's executive orders and the Open Public Meetings Act. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the public meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the city of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written comments submitted in advance would be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion, and this evening there were none. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
Please rise. Excuse me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Ladies and gentlemen, city council members, let us remember and keep in our prayers those serving in our nation's armed forces. And let us, like thousands throughout this country, extend our condolences to the lives that were lost in the collapse of the high-rise condo in Florida, and also those that have passed away recently that our city council have noted. Thank you. Please be seated.
Roll call, Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mrs. Madden?
Here.
Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Smith? Mr. Utz? Mr. Palestina?
Here.
Mr. Chow?
Here.
Mr. President?
Thank you. Can I get approval of the minutes, please?
I'd like to make a motion to discuss the development of the minutes of June 15th, 2021 and June 24th, 2021. They have been posted, distributed to council, and will also out on city clerk's office.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor's report?
Thank you, Council President. First of all, I think I did send an information out to all council members, but I just want to make a note. I attended a webinar with regards to implications of Oprah as it applies to social media. I know some of us have attended a workshop with regards to being wary about how we use social media, not only as a city function, but also as our private owned communications. There is potential litigation that comments that we make that can be taken and be exposed to Oprah requests. So again, I would just forewarn everyone about your usage of social media, and I'm sure that if anyone has any questions, they can certainly either contact Jiff or contact our city solicitor as to the implications in Weary. I regret, and I did send the resignation letter of our senior class 2 officer. He is leaving. Unfortunately, I could not make a commitment, as we had discussed during budget meeting, as to his possible of hiring another officer, but I wish him well. And I would just make a comment that, you know, in talking to Chief Newman, that we will be looking for a replacement. But I know that at one point in time during the budget hearing, Councilman Perry had expressed concerns as to what costs that were involved in the hiring of a class 2 officers, such as training and schooling and the time of what we need to advertise. So we will have to go through that process again. Hopefully, we can minimize the costs, finding someone that has already been trained and is available. But I do want to extend my thanks to that officer, and I wish him well in his new venture with Hamilton Township. I also sent to council with regards to some concerns about, and you heard one of them about the sound ordinance being enforced. I will only just say that several years ago, I did look into that, and in terms of reviewing with other municipalities, how they enforce their sound ordinance or noise ordinance. It's not an easy task. There involves certification, yearly certification, and finding someone that would be available at all times of the night. It was a very frustrating thing as far as some of the municipalities, but it is a concern. And I know that with the 4th of July, my office tends to get a lot of complaints because of the fireworks that are being used. So something that council should be aware of. And if council wishes to pursue it, I'd be more than happy to share my information from the municipalities that I had interviewed with regards to their noise ordinance. Councilman Utz did point about in the planning board some new businesses, and I'm happy to say that despite the COVID-19 as far as the effects of some of the businesses here in Northfield. We have lost some, but I'm happy to say that we have gained some, and hopefully that will be the upswing. But we all know that, and I discussed some of the new businesses, that finding staff and employees is a very difficult task. You know, I just want something that is very strange is you don't always see is that some of these businesses have signs out there and they're actually advertising the salary wages. So that's a really strange thing to see that, you know, so, but we are experiencing that as far as some of the businesses in Northfield, but I have the utmost confidence that some of these businesses are doing well. I want to take this opportunity, as all of you know, that our code enforcement zoning official, Mike Detalio, will be leaving us at the end of this month, July. And I want to thank him publicly for the many years of service that he has given to the city of Northfield. And I know on behalf of City Council and myself, we wish him well in his retirement. We finally got our new vehicle after over a year. And I'm going to blame it on the COVID crisis. But if I was told by one of the dealerships that if we're looking at purchasing or leasing one next year, it's going to be tough because COVID has taken its toll on these manufacturers and these agencies. So that's something to be considered here. I do want to take the opportunity to congratulate the Mothers League, our first baby born for this year, and Miss 4th of July. And that, by the way, is Shannon Campbell's daughter, for their nomination as well as receiving the award from these positions here also. And also Councilman Notaro pointed out regarding the Connolly Run. I will tell you that we had and I don't know the official number, but we had well over 200 participants this year. So it was very well attended. And I want to thank Jay Hurley, who was part of the organizer. He did an outstanding job and talking to everyone. They thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a beautiful day. And I know Councilman Notaro was in the event there and running along with Brian. Were you in there also?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You were in there. You were in the old man section, right? No, I'm kidding you. But it was well attended, and I thank the organizers for that. And on that same note, I do want to extend my personal thanks not only to Councilman Notaro and all the individuals that were involved in formulating and organizing the parade, especially Joan Brenner and her husband, David. They did an outstanding job, and I heard nothing but kudos. As Councilman Utz pointed out, the people were very happy with the event, and I think it was well received. And thank you to the volunteer Northfield Volunteer Fire Department for the hot dogs. They were delicious, and it was a great treat. And lastly, I just want to congratulate all our Northfield junior high and high school graduates. I had the opportunity to participate in the Northfield Community School graduation at Mainland, very well attended, and I wish them all well. And I know on behalf of City Council, we wish them well in their future educational. So that is all I have. Thank you very much, Council President and members of City Council.
Thank you, Mayor. The engineer's report?
Thank you, Council President. The 2020 road program, the contractor was supposed to start back up tomorrow on the 14th. I got an email today that will be starting on Thursday. The reason we waited for some settlement period, we had some issues with the water company moving the line, and a couple sewer laterals were installed under Cedar Bridge. So we're beyond the settlement period, so they will be back on Thursday to move forward, finish the project, and get everything wrapped up. So. The second thing is we submitted a grant application for the reconstruction of Oak Avenue. We're having one issue with that. There's a resolution tonight by council to authorize the submission of this grant application. The state have implemented a new program called PMRS, which is Project Management Resource System, to make it easy for us to submit documents to the state. Unfortunately, we've been trying to log on the system. We can't because the city of Northfield is not listed. And I think Mary's been back and forth with administrators. I'm not sure if this has got resolved yet. So,
I emailed it again today.
yep. So without them putting our municipality, we cannot create an account so we can submit documents. And the deadline is the July 31st. So we're just working through it. And at this point, if we don't get any results, I think we'll just do it the old fashioned way. We'll submit the resolutions, hard copies, and I would contact Vijesh Fry from the DOT and explain to him, this is the issue we're having. We need to get this resolved. So that's where we are with this. So hopefully this will get resolved next couple of weeks and
Okay,
we
thank
won't
you.
miss our grant application. One last thing, Council President, it's not in my report. We have hired Arawak to do some patches for some work that was done for Public Works. We hired them to do 3 patches. Council authorized, I think, $10,000 to do the work in county right of way. What happens when they were out there to do the work, Public Works added one more patch, which is a large patch on Zion and Mill, I believe. That's the area they had an issue with.
Sinkhole, okay.
So they did the work. And while they were doing the work, the county came out and they insisted that they change the scope. And originally, they were just going to take the top coat and put a couple inches. County made them take it out and put in 6 inches. So that added to the cost. So I'm negotiating with the contractor a final number, but I don't know if I need council approval when we determine the value on it. So it could be paid. So I'm not sure. I just need some direction.
Do we have an approximate cost or?
Well, I mean, he asked for an extra 10,000. I said no. So we're negotiating the number to see how it's going to work out at this point. I need like bottom line number with him, but
It's going to have to be a resolution of council.
okay,
And if it's more than 17.5, we'll need them to do a pay-to-play disclosure because it wasn't bid.
I got you. Okay. All right. So when I get the final number, I'll bring it back to council.
Let me
then
know and I'll help you.
we can move it forward. Okay, thank you.
Then we have to send it over to the county.
No, see, the problem, it's our job, that's our sewer line. So, yeah, unfortunately.
I guess they wanted us to restore it to their state.
Right, and then the traffic also, they wanted traffic control, they want traffic safety, that everything, anytime you add 2 people to a job, you add cost to it, so.
Council President, may I ask something to Rami?
Horrible people.
Rami, and I know this is not our jurisdiction, but I did receive a concern or complaint. Someone who lives right there on Shore Road near the synagogue.
Yeah.
They said that the county had done some repair or paving, and I don't know if it's the manhole or something like that, that they said it's sticking a little bit high, 2 spots. Would you mind I don't know who to contact the county to see if they can look at it.
All right, do you have an address, man? If you can send me the address of where the complaint is, I would.
No, they just said it was right, that one section right there. So I don't know. They
Yeah, I
said
mean,
they keep
I
hitting
will
it.
call the county engineer's office, but I'm not sure without having an address, it's gonna be a little bit difficult for them
Right,
to
right.
determine which.
I realize, yeah.
Is it on Shore Road?
On Shore Road, yes. Yes, that's it, Ridgewood. Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
I will contact the engineer's
All right.
office and let him know.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is it on that we were speaking about? So there is the county has no responsibility for any of that bill
No,
on the other?
no, because that is our sewer system and we had to do some repair work. So we opened the road.
Okay,
County has nothing to do with so the county inspector showed up. He says, no, you need to take 6 more inches and give me this much asphalt and added the time and material to the job.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr.?
Rami, pulled out all after that storm drain damage, that would be taken care of.
Oh, yes. What happens with that? They're coming back to the job site. We are not able to buy or to find the same seepage that we have. The seepage pit that was put in the street was substandard. It was only a 4-inch thick. And I won't recommend putting the same thing back in because that is not the proper way. So it has to be at least 6-inch thick and reinforced properly. They're not able to find a supplier that can make this. And if we are going to custom make it, it might take another 2-3 months. So the solution would be is to have 2 E inlets put together, put in the street. That will give us enough volume and that would replace what they had before. So that's one of the things they have to be doing when they come back to the job site.
Okay. What about our sewer fee ordinance? Do we ever finalize that?
There's one thing Mary asked me to do, which I dropped the ball on, so I have to go back on it, just to compare sections to the ordinances, which, yeah, Mary reminded me about that a couple of times, but I have to do, we'll try to get it done for next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Council President, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, if I may just spare you, don't, John? Good, John Sco. I just want to introduce our SEO Class 2, John Sco, who is a resident of Northfield. He's one of our newer Class 2 officer. John, I just want to introduce you to City Council as our new SEO there, and thank you very much for coming here.
All you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I like being on the department here. It's a nice town. I've lived in here my whole life. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to hopefully spending full time with you guys. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Good luck.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. At this time, we'll open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any topic, please observe a 5-minute limit per speaker.
There were, nobody had indicated they wished to comment, so I did type in there, giving them one last opportunity. I'll just give it a moment.
Okay.
Nope, I do not believe anyone wishes to comment.
Okay. Seeing that there's no one wishing to speak, we will now close the public session. The resolutions, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and having been reviewed by council will be enacted by one motion. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member, and if so removed, will be treated as a separate matter. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certificate of availability of funds. The executive session will be held at the end of the meeting, and we will come back into public session to make a comment for the record after the executive session has concluded. Any vote may be made on subjects discussed will be made in public. Is there anyone wishing to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Council, we're taking off 128, correct?
126 and 128 are taken out.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Make necessary motion for consent agenda for 118-2021 through 125-2021 and number 27-2021.
Second.
That was 127, yes?
127.
Thank you. Roll call?
All in favor of voting by consent agenda on resolutions 118 through 125 and 127?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I almost made it. Motion for to pass the consent agenda?
To adopt resolution 118-2021 through 125-21. 127-2021.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yeah.
Mrs. Madden? Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Rutz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Ordinance 5-2021. It's public hearings. And then we will vote.
I'd like to make a motion to move to adopt Ordinance 5, 2021.
Second.
Ordinance 5 of 2021 is a bond ordinance appropriating $890,000 and authorizing the issuance of $845,500 in bonds or notes of the city of Northfield for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the city of Northfield in the county of Atlantic, state of New Jersey. This is the second reading. There will be a public hearing after which the matter will be considered for final adoption. The ordinance is presently posted in the lobby of City Hall as well as on the municipal website where it has been since introduction. Any member of the public who requested a copy of the ordinance was provided with one free of charge in the office of the municipal clerk. And if adopted this evening, the ordinance will be published one final time in the Press of Atlantic City with the required estoppel statement on July 17th of 2021.
Public hearing on ordinance 5-2021 is now open to any member of the public wishing to speak on ordinance 5-2021 alone.
I don't see anyone wishing to speak.
Since no one wishes to speak, the public session is now closed. Any further questions from council?
I have a question. What is the estoppel statement?
The estoppel statement is required under bond law, and that when we publish, we advise the public that they have 20 days to protest the ordinance. There's a manner to do it by petition before it becomes final and you can actually spend the money. I shilled him. I made him ask that. No, I didn't.
Good answer. Any further questions on? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Deweese.
Yes.
Mrs. Madden. Mr. Notaro.
Yes.
Mr. Perry. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Rutz.
Yes.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of ordinance 5 of 2021.
Ordinance 6 is also the public hearing. We will vote after public has an opportunity.
I'd like to make a motion to move to adopt ordinance 6, 2021.
I second.
Ordinance 6 of 2020 is an ordinance creating a new chapter 39 of the municipal code of the city of Northfield entitled City of Northfield Municipal Alliance. This is the second reading. There will be a public hearing after which the matter will be considered for final adoption. Since introduction, the ordinance has been posted in full in the lobby of City Hall as well as on the municipal website. And any member of the public who requested a copy was provided with one free of charge in the office of the municipal clerk. If approved this evening, it will be published a final time in the Press of Atlantic City on July 17th.
Okay, we will now open ordinance 6-2021 for the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on that ordinance and that ordinance alone?
And no one wishing to speak, sir?
Okay, public session is now closed. Anyone on council have any questions or comments for ordinance 6-2021?
Do we have anybody who's interested in being on this committee?
I believe Dawn has some suggestions. There's requirements in the Alliance guidelines as to what members of the community you should include.
Yeah, I'm reading that now, and I would like to be on the.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Roll call?
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Rutz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of Ordinance 6 of 2021.
Just real quickly on ordinance 8, in my packet, I have page 5 of 6. Is there a sixth page?
There is. Anybody else missing page 6 of 6?
I'm at 2, 4, 6.
It didn't double side?
No.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I don't have 2.
All right. Can we take a brief recess?
Please.
Nobody talk, and I'll go make copies.
Okay. Any of these have it?
Don't want to talk, Paul.
He's packing.
No laughing either.
He's packing too. We need a new executive order here in the masks. That would be nice. Gotta find a loophole.
I think Brian's already decided. Huh? He did? Just take it off.
Actually, I was at Grand County. You vaccinated? Not vaccinated. You want to be exposed to it?
I don't think so. We'd heard about that.
Well, yeah, because I thought I did a really shitty job drafting that ordinance, and I don't have what did right there. Where's the language for it?
Well, we're not only saving paper, we're saving ink.
What's that?
So we're not only saving paper, we're saving ink. They got, they did their work.
It wouldn't work. Nice analogy.
Isn't that what it was like?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Hey, Chief,
So, did you see the email?
Yeah.
Could you please? Thank you. Yeah. 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 Thank you.
Sorry, everybody. I hurt myself up while I was in there, if it helps.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. Chris, I didn't give you one because you have mine.
I give yours back.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Sorry. I'll give Chris mine.
I have it from the, from our meeting agenda meeting.
I love the press.
So sit down.
Okay, I'm so sorry, everyone. The copies were not double-sided. They are now double-sided and have been distributed.
You ready?
Sorry, when you,
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 8-2021? Pardon? Okay,
I'll second.
we have a second by Mr. Notaro.
Ordinance 8 of 2021 is an ordinance by the city of Northfield in the county of Atlantic, New Jersey, prohibiting the operation of any class of cannabis business within its geographical boundaries and adding section 215-151B16 of the city of Northfield Municipal Code. This is the introduction. There will be no public input. It will be published in the Press of Atlantic City on July 17th of 2021. The ordinance is presently posted in full on the municipal website as well as in the lobby of City Hall. Any member of the public who wishes to have a copy of the ordinance between now and the public hearing can obtain one free of charge in the office of the municipal clerk. The matter will be taken up for a second reading. There will be a public hearing and final consideration on August 10th of 2021.
Roll call.
Ready to discuss?
Absolutely.
I have two questions. One, why is 7-2021 on tonight's agenda? Wasn't tonight supposed to be the second reading?
It was introduced because of the referral to the planning board. They had 35 days to respond. That 35 days took us beyond today, so it was slated for next month.
Okay, which brings my second question. How will there be time to meet the August 21st deadline if it's introduced tonight? And then the next meeting is on the 10th of August. So there's only this and another meeting. When will final adoption happen on this?
August 10th, is it, Mary?
Yes.
Will be the final adoption, and because we're not making any changes to the zoning ordinance, it doesn't need to be referred to the.
So there's no second reading?
There is a second reading on August 10th.
Oh, you can.
And the final, it'll be second and final.
After the
Yeah.
second reading. You don't need a third reading.
And we'll have both at that point, and then we will pick one, obviously, to move forward.
One will pass, one will fail.
Yeah.
These are simultaneously this is just,
This is just so we
we're
have,
going to
the
pick one.
this is just so we have the option up till the last minute.
Right.
Just
a month.
It's a safety
month,
net.
Paul.
It's a safety net if nothing else. Any other comments? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Deweese,
Yes.
Mrs. Madden, Mr. Notaro,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Utz,
No.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes.
That is 5 in the affirmative, 2
I'm
in,
sorry, Mayor, change my vote. I probably get confused. To a yes.
To a no.
you were a yes, Mr. Perry.
I mean,
Change it to a no?
yes.
Okay.
No, yes.
Procedurally, because I did not finish announcing the results, Mr. Perry can change his vote. So once again, that was 4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. Motion carries for the introduction of Ordinance 8 of 2021.
Payment of bills? Oh, wait, no.
Can you give
we
me,
go-
can you give me 1 second to
Absolutely.
record the
We want to
vote?
go
Thank
into
you.
executive anyway.
Thank you, I'm good.
Do we need to go to executive first?
You can do payment of bills and we'll do executive last.
Okay, payment of bills.
You ready? Make a motion for payment of bills of $2,991,474.14.
Second.
Roll call? Oh, any questions? Thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for payment of bills.
Oh, we can do meeting notices now?
Yep.
Dave,
Oh, I'm
meeting
sorry.
notices?
Our next city council meeting is August 10th, 6 PM work session, regular session immediately following.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm going to call fire to come up and then I'll make my statement just to save some time.
Excellent.
Okay, we're ready. Thank you. The executive session of council, which is resolution 120, gosh, which one is it? 125 of 2021, thank you so much, is a resolution providing for an executive session not open to the public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, which is NJSA 10:4-12B7, regarding matters covered under the attorney-client privilege. This was just adopted under the consent agenda. We are required to set forth as much information as possible for the public as to the subject matter to be discussed, as well as provide for them the amount of time that can be expected to elapse before the non-public minutes can be disclosed. I will defer to the solicitor for that comment, but for the benefit of those participating via Zoom, once the executive session does begin, I will be pausing the video, the audio, the recording will stop, and the audio will be muted. Once the council resumes public session, audio will be turned back on, as will the video feed, and the meeting will begin recording once again, and a statement will be made by the solicitor for the public as to what transpired. So Mr. Facenda, if you would make that comment, please.
Thank you. As authorized by Resolution 125-2001, at this time, the City
Not yet.
Council for the City of Northfield will enter into an executive session not open to the general public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Matters to be discussed are matters covered under the attorney-client privilege, particularly concerning potential matters of public safety. Council will keep minutes of the executive session as required by law, which will be approved by the council and made promptly available for public inspection when required and permitted by law. This time, that time frame for the release of those minutes is unknown. When the executive session is complete, the council will return and official action will be taken at that time. And at a minimum, a statement will be read into the record. we will remain in council chambers for this executive session.
If someone could please close the doors.
I'm not messing with that door. Door don't like me.
You're gonna have to.
Mr. Facenda, we are back.
Thank you. The council for the city of Northfield concluded its executive session authorized by resolution 125-2001. Matters to discuss were potential issues of public safety requiring attorney-client privilege and confidentiality. Minutes of the executive session were kept as required by law, which will be approved and made available for public inspection when required and permitted. At this time, the time frame for that is unknown, as this is an ongoing deliberation and ongoing attorney-client communication. That's it.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Pretty much.
Second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lee Farmer.
Son of-
He's doing his best.
Is that time right? 9:15.